Okay, everyone, welcome. We're going to get right into the stock market charts. I couldn't get a video out today. I've been extremely busy away from my desk, so this is the earliest I could get it out. I apologize for that, but let's get right into the charts. We'll look for, any information that the technical analysis is going to give us. And some people asked me whether RSI is the only indicator that I use. Just watch my videos. I mean, ultimately, I use the PPO, which is very similar to the MACD, and I use RSI, and I also am using divergences, which is an indication. We're looking for differences from momentum and price. I also use trend line breaks, trend line, candlestick analysis, whether you have doji candles, trend line analysis, and then I use volume to give me an indication on whether there's a confirmed breakdown or breakout. So lots of different indicators, not just one. Follow the videos. I think you'll be able to pick up on that. We're going to start out here with the triple Qs. I don't see any real change from the previous day. Well, I'm looking at an hourly chart here. And basically the pattern that we're trading against is just this bearish rising wedge right here. We broke it and we back tested. And really for about a week now, we've really just been drifting sideways, with a slight lean to up, because you can see we're kind of grinding higher, making higher lows, and slightly higher high right there, but not much. Today they couldn't make a higher high, and we're in general just sideways. If I look at the daily chart, you can see that we're really just kind of drifting sideways, looking for some sort of indication of a move. Now, again, I'm anticipating a breakdown, and one of the main reasons why I'm looking for that is we have an upward trend line coming off the March 2020 lows that was broken back here. There's your break of trend, created a secondary trend line, broke that one. So we keep breaking these trend lines and extending the divergence. So we have negative divergence that keeps extending. And that gives us an indication that we're going to get a move to the downside, but we're just not seeing it yet. So that's what I'm looking for. I would favor the downside move, although we haven't got that yet. So that's all I see on Qs. If I look at the hourly chart, probably wait for some sort of a break on this level right here. Maybe we got a couple reactions there and wait for a breakdown on that to trigger the downside. But until I see it, and really what I'd want to see is a nice daily breakdown, a big red daily candle. That's what I'm looking for. On the SPY, again, no real change, just grinding higher. Look at the price compression right up here. See these candles, how we're just opening, closing, and trading within a really tight range? That's price compression, where basically the buyers and sellers are kind of battling it out. The buyers are running out of steam, but there's still not enough sellers to overtake the buyers, and we're still hanging in there. And that's what that shows. So I'm looking for, some sort of a breakdown on this one too. Again, on the daily, we've tagged this support line right here at 435.90. I'd probably wait for a break of that before initiating a short on the SPY. Wait for the first level of support to go before we see, before we can anticipate more selling. The negative divergence on the SPY remains intact. That can continue to build. All right. There's no reason to short something just because you have negative divergence. It just gives you an indication that we're looking for a trend reversal or some sort of downside move to start, relatively soon. Doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow or this week, although, I think it could happen any day now because these negative divergences are intact. We're seeing price compression. We just need to see that break, that downside move. All right, so no real change over the last couple weeks, really. If you look back on the SPY from July 23rd, we've been drifting sideways. If you've been buying the SPY and you haven't really been making money, I mean, yeah, you made a little. I mean, if you bought it somewhere in here, yeah, maybe you're up about 1% over 2 weeks. Not a lot of, again, just picking up nickels in front of the steamroller is kind of what I see. So, you made 1%, but there's a potential down move, big one coming. So waiting for that one. And IWM, again, just more sideways action. No change there. So until we break to the top of the range, which is about 233.70 or so, or the bottom of the range, 209.55. We've got no direction in the small caps. We do have negative divergence right there on the small caps, telling us that I think the probability is skewed to the break to the downside. But until we start to see those support levels go, there's no action to be taken. Okay, I want to look at gold because that's where a lot of the action's been taking place this week. Sunday night, they came out and smashed gold in a thin market and smashed it down. So a couple things that we've got going on. One, we had this upward trend line on gold bullion coming back from May 19. We tagged it in the COVID drop, tagged it a couple times here, and then they broke that on Sunday night. It was right there on Friday, and then Sunday they broke that. You had a sell signal. So that is a short-term sell signal for sure on gold bullion. The one thing that just gives me pause on this sell signal is this sell signal didn't come with negative divergence. You can see here, if I get rid of the bullish divergence that we kind of have right there, you'll see we basically made a high right here, a lower high right here, and the momentum, we had a high and a lower high in momentum. There's the RSI right there, lower high. So downward momentum, downward price. That's not divergence, that's just momentum and price moving together. So no negative divergence indicating that we were going to get a trend reversal. Now that means that perhaps this downtrend that started in August is just continuing. That's completely possible. But we did have bullish divergence back here. So here's your bullish divergence that we had right there on the RSI. You can see here that I have it circled. We made an equal low, and then we had bullish divergence in the momentum, and then we got a rally. So I don't see any trend reversal, a negative divergence showing up, telling me that this move up is reversed. I see this was your indication here that you're about to reverse this downtrend, started moving up. I don't see anything telling me that we're reversing this uptrend, although price did break down. So gives me pause on that. I'm kind of waiting to see how we close out the week. If the buyers show up on, say, Friday, I think there's a CPI reading that comes out on Friday or maybe Thursday, then maybe they'll buy it up and close back above this support. I don't know what's going to happen. If you see that, and it's just an if, but if you see the buyers step in and close it back above this trend line, then we have a false breakdown or a bear trap, a stop raid. This was a move meant to run stops. And then they step in, and they being, major institutions looking to take larger positions, they step in and take those long positions and buy it up. So something to look for. I don't know what's going to happen. As of right now, we do have a break in price support on gold. Another thing to point out, though, on gold, there is some support right there at 1681.84. You can see that basically that was resistance back here. And then it was support right through here, support again right there and there. And that's where it fell to on Sunday night. They sold it down right to the support, and then the buyer stepped in and bid it back up. So right now we're kind of in the middle of the range. It was today was basically a battleground day where you can see it opened and closed pretty much right where it, it closed right where it opened, moved up, moved down, closing, the gold price went nowhere. So we'll see where this ends up throughout the week. Okay, so some of these miners, AEM, closing down on support. So you've got this downtrend line on the daily chart. You can see we've just been walking down that trend line. Bullish divergence down here. This was a divergent low right in here. And then we broke to the upside of the trend line, and we've been backtesting ever since. So backtesting all through here, kind of rallied off of it, came back in for another backtest, closing right at that trend line. So doesn't mean that trend line's going to hold, but that is support as of right now. That support does have bullish divergence. So you'll notice here that the PPO and the RSI are both making a higher low. So let me zoom that in just to show you guys. So you'll see here we have a higher low than the former low. The only thing is this is pointed straight down. So if we continue to move down in the RSI, we're going to take out this bullish divergence, and it's going to look something like that. But as of right now, it is a bullish divergence. We do have a divergent low, so I'd look for confirmation. And what you want to look for is, does the RSI turn up like that? And if it does, that's going to be confirmation. You'll have a confirmed divergent bullish divergence, which means that this is a divergent low and it's likely going to find support and, you know, start to reverse. So things to look for on that. Again, we need to see certain things show up, and we'll look for those throughout the week. But that is at support right now with bullish divergence. Another one to look at, some of these, you know, like Newmont Mining, you know, here's your support line on Newmont right here. At least as far as I can tell, your downtrend line could be slightly down. We could maybe move it down to like somewhere right in here. But basically, you can see that we broke above, big breakout candle right there, back tested, ran up, coming back in, tested it again, and then recently this week fell right down to support again. Now, yes, slightly below it on the close today. Not an impulsive breakdown though, so you want to see for a break of support, you want to see an impulsive breakdown. I suspect that tomorrow they'll gap it back above here, or gap it, you know, they'll be down here and move it right back above that support line. So watch for that. The other thing on the PPO, you'll see here bullish divergence. Again, the PPO is pointed down, so if we continue to sell off, we'll potentially take out that divergence. But look for it to turn up. And if it turns up, you'll have a divergent confirmation, meaning that this is just another divergent low. And divergent lows at support is a key area where you can be adding or buying a position long in my position, or in my opinion. So that one still looks okay. It's just kind of hanging in there, right? You know, we're watching for developments to see if we take out those divergences or not. As of right now, it still looks okay. Okay, and GDX, which is just a gold mining ETF. I want to cover that. So you'll see here on GDX, we've got this downtrend line. This is the downward channel that GDX was in, right? At the lower end of this channel right here, started to build what looks like bullish divergence right here. You'll see it, kind of have it marked out right there is where it really started to show up on the PPO, where we made a new lower low, but it was a higher low on momentum right there. And kind of an equal low there on the RSI, if I can mark that out. So there's bullish divergence. We then broke to the upside of this downward price channel, back tested, held support, and rallied. And you can see they're kind of coming in. Looks like they're coming in for another back test, as far as I can tell. Now you've got good support right here on GDX at 31.38. You can see that was resistance all through here, resistance there. And then once we broke above, it was support, 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 support again right here. And we're right there coming into support. So look for, you know, that a little lower. You know, we could definitely go a little lower from where we're at right now. That's another about 2% to the downside potentially in GDX, and that's where we should run into some major support. So look for that. Bullish divergence still remains, but just barely. So here's the PPO. It's definitely there in the PPO. So you'll see if I just show you this, we're making a new lower low in price. So here's your lower low in price and a higher low in momentum. So here was your former kind of lows right in here. And then here's your new lower low in price with a higher low in momentum. Now, again, the PPO is pointed straight down. So again, if we continue to move down in the PPO, that will take out the divergence. So you want to see that confirm. We don't have confirmation yet, and that's very similar with all the other miners. And then on the RSI, we still have bullish divergence right there. So a higher low in the RSI than the former low, although pointed down, need to see confirmation, and a new lower low in price. So as of right now, it's a divergent low, but if the divergence continues down, we will no longer have divergence. We will just have downward momentum, downward price, and that's pretty bearish, you know, in general. So we'll watch for that. And yeah, that's all I got on these gold miners. And we can also look at the dollar. One thing I want to point out on the dollar. So this is dollar futures DX. You can see we just made a new higher high, slightly kind of an equal high basically than the former high right there. But you have bearish divergence. So you'll see here how we are still making a lower low in momentum right there. Again, the PPO is kind of pointed up. So if we continue higher in the dollar, we'll take out that bearish divergence. We need to see confirmation. And here's the RSI. Again, pointed up, so you want to see the RSI start to turn down to confirm the bearish divergence. So we don't have confirmations on the divergences, although we do have them in place. So those are things to watch for. Maybe we go up a little bit higher and then sell off. So I'd watch for the most recent highs right here. you can see that basically this was kind of your former resistance area. It's actually slightly lower. It's really right in here. It's about where we're at. So they might pop it, and then maybe we'll sell off. Things to look for. You know, I don't know where the market's going. All I know is right now the market's telling me that we're likely going to see the dollar start to turn down and gold start to turn up. But again, I'd like to see those confirmations in those divergences. So once we get those, we'll have a better idea on where the near-term picture is for the dollar and gold. Okay, I want to point out this one, AMD. So we did have a false breakout in AMD. One thing I want to point out, the trend line that I have on the daily chart goes all the way back to 2016. So you can see here, we held this trend line for many years, held support here, here, held support there, there. Lots of reactions on this trend line. We finally broke, and when we broke, it's been resistance ever since. So resistance, sell the rip. Resistance, sell the rip. Resistance, recovered it, you know, they bounced back above that, and I talked about this, look for a false breakout, and so far it has been. So you see we recovered that trend line, but now over the last couple of days they've sold it back below resistance. Looks like a bull trap to me. And one reason why I wanted to look for this breakout as a false breakout was the negative divergence. See here on the PPO how we made a lower high right there, and you can see my trend line that I had, or my line drawn looking for confirmation of that PPO. So we don't have full confirmation of the PPO yet. Look for the crossover here like that, and this to start to turn down. But I think we're going to get that. And we do, so that would be confirmed negative divergence, meaning we have a new higher high in price with lower high in the PPO momentum. And then the RSI, we basically have, let me look here just to see what we got going on. The RSI is, you know, not quite divergence. You can see we made just a slightly higher high there in the RSI from the former high. We did not make a higher high from the previous high back here. You can see, so it's negative divergence, but it's not the best. It's pretty extended. So not my favorite. But I was looking for that false breakout, and so far that's what I'm seeing. So look for, you know, let's look for more selling is what I would look for. But again, I think the selling on this is likely going to come if you see broad-based selling as well, especially in the triple Qs and the tech sector. So things to look for on that one. Okay, XLV, this is the healthcare sector. Looks like we're going to get a sell-off on this one. Now, we don't have it yet, but the things to look for on this is bigger picture. We have this big bearish rising wedge right here in the daily chart. This is going back to the March 2020 lows. Big bearish rising wedge. We traded to the upper end. We broke above that bearish rising wedge. This is usually a low probability kind of fake out area where they'll pop it above, run a bunch of stops, and then break this thing down. So this is where we're at right now. This high that we've been making is a divergent high. So you'll see here on the PPO, you have negative divergence. See the PPO starting to turn down, just about to get that crossover right there. So we'll see what tomorrow brings. And then the RSI is also negative divergence, starting to confirm as well how we've got, right, let me zoom that in, and you can see a lower high in momentum, slightly lower high than the former high, and yet on much higher price. So that tells me this negative divergence is confirming with the bearish rising wedge pattern. What I'd look for on this one is a break back down to the wedge. They'll probably start there with just a break right down there, probably hold here for a day or two, and then roll over. So things to look for on that one. Again, I wouldn't anticipate it or front run it. You know, this market's pretty resilient, so I'd rather just wait for it to show up, wait for the breakdown. But if you see a break of this lower this trend line right here, you might want to anticipate a break, through the wedge to the downside. And again, everything in this channel is just my opinion. I'm just looking at charts, showing you guys what I think I'm seeing. But yeah, we'll watch for that. And then if we break, we've got levels of support at 119.08. There's probably some other levels that I can kind of line up. Looks like we got slight level right there. We had several reactions right in. If I can grab the line tool. We had several reactions right there. And that's sitting there at about 125.74. Okay, Blackrock. This one you have a upward trend line here. We had a bearish rising wedge at the highs with negative divergence. We got our initial sell signal right here when you broke trend. So that's where I took the short position. Now they've rallied it against us. You know, we're sitting at about 4% roughly underwater, but coming right up to a back test of that resistance line with negative divergence still intact. So I'd expect us to get rejected right in this area. I think we can go a little bit higher and make a new high above this 1928 area, but I think we're going to get rejected right in here after we put in a new high, a new divergent high, and backtest that resistance line. So this one still looks good. I'm still short. Again, you know, swing trading, you don't always, you know, you have to give it a little room sometimes. When you're targeting bigger targets, which, you know, I'm targeting down here at 791.36 and potentially down here at 669. But when you're targeting bigger targets, it's all about your risk-reward ratio. So, you know, take the trade and risk, you know, let's say you want to risk, you never want to risk the equal amount, but you want to risk $1 to make $2, $1 to make $3, things like that. So it all depends on where your targets are at, but ultimately I still like how this looks, you know, just making a new backtest and divergent high, and then I think the probability says we're going to sell off then. So we'll see. I don't see any too much change in anything else. You know, kind of a slow day. The market's just, we're in the summer months. Things are grinding around. There's not, you know, really tight price compression right now. But out of tight price compression comes big moves and volatility. So be on the lookout for it. Doesn't, you know, we don't know when it's going to show up. It could show up this week. It could show up 3 months from now. Nobody really knows. But the charts tell me we're going to get it soon. And so we're just getting ready for that. Okay, thanks everyone. Leave me a thumbs up on your way out. Check out the course, the technical analysis course I put together, and the link is in the description below. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye.